Welcome to the latest episode of Lockdown with Kayla and Taylor. With cybersecurity encompassing so many facets of business and home life, it can easily become overwhelming and stressful. But with our help, you'll be able to make sense of it all. Now, this week, we are discussing a rather interesting and somewhat elusive topic: building a personal brand through a social media presence while being in the security space. And with us today to tackle this subject is Jackie Blundell, marketing, comms, content, and social media extraordinaire. So welcome
What
to
a
the show,
yeah.
Jackie.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I'm adding that to my LinkedIn header after we wrap this up.
Absolutely, it's so true.
Facts.
Love it.
Yeah. Let's dive right in, Jackie. The
Why
first
not?
and the most important question is how do people start to build a presence online in the security space?
Yeah, that's a big, hairy question. I think you before we talk about posting to social media and starting to build up your presence, you really need to take a step back and first think through what is your personal brand. You need to have an understanding of what that is, and then from there, decide how you want to approach your social media strategy. So, one way I like to think about it is first understanding what is your unique value proposition as a person. Like, what do you bring to the table either in your personal life or career, and how do you want to bring that forward, and how you communicate who you are? And then who is your audience is the second part of that. Who are you trying to communicate to? If you're posting on social media just to post on social media, you're probably not going to be very effective. So for me, when I think about my unique value proposition, just by way of example, I like to think of, okay, I am a person who is exceptionally well at long-term project planning and executing. But on top of that, I like to infuse personality into my work and bring a good energy and attitude to my work. So what I like to say is that I'm an amazing project manager who comes to meetings with an agenda and a smile. That gives you a sense of who I am, right? But then on top of that, okay, this amazing project manager, but what type of projects do I manage? I manage marketing projects, not just marketing projects, social media marketing projects for SaaS companies, for B2B SaaS companies, for B2B cybersecurity companies. So now you have a really great sense of who I'm trying to talk to and what I'm about and what type of insights I'm going to bring to the table. So before you post to social media or build your social media profiles, it's important to do that legwork and think about, okay, who am I and what am I even trying to say on here?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think people forget that even if you aren't a security practitioner, you are still in the security space. If you are working at a security company
Mhm.
that sells a security tool or is some sort of security company, that you are in the cybersecurity space and you are
Mhm.
exposed to it. So your thoughts and your insights are going to be very valuable to an audience. People will want to learn from you.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually a really good point. So you talked about like what areas do people excel in and like what drives me and how that can help you to narrow down your target audience. Is there
Mhm.
like anything like a template or anything people should be using, or is it like just like a because you obviously you know this, are there resources people could use?
Yeah, I came up with my framework honestly just by searching personal branding best practices on Google. I did not make this up myself. There's tons of resources online. I have my own presentation and deck that I walk our sales team through for building their social media presence, our social media experts and our spokespeople through at our organizations. In terms of framework, though, I use the three-step down method. So start broad. For example, when choosing your audience, you start with that broad marketing category and then you push yourself to take it three steps lower to get more niche and more specific and to really make sure you're getting at what you're trying to communicate to and like type of content you're trying to put together. That three-step framework can really challenge you into thinking about what exactly do I excel at and exactly who would benefit from my area of expertise.
See, I struggle with that, right?
It's
Like,
hard.
one,
It's a hard exercise.
it is because like, being present in social media is like the exact opposite construct of security, right?
Yes.
It's I need to reduce my presence. I don't need to be Googleable, but also at the same time, like your reputation and being reputable speaks volumes in the industry. So
Yeah.
having that presence is actually very important to building your career, building your brand. And so like there's almost like contradictions in building out a security profile and a social media presence at the same time.
Yeah, it's interesting too because as you progress in your career, oftentimes the companies you work for, etc., they want you to be more active on social, but then as a security person, you're like, I don't know if I should be putting all this information out there. Like, so I think there are definitely some best practices for making sure you're not airing out too much personal information while also sharing best practices and showing yourself off as a thought leader. For example, if you're trying to show who you are as a person, but also trying to talk about the latest security breaches, et cetera, and are drawing parallels between your personal life and whatever's happening in the security space, maybe you don't share the name of your dog because maybe someone will use that to crack a password or something. I don't know. But maybe keep those details intimate. Don't share the names of your children, etc., or lack too much personal information out. So that
Yeah.
way, as security people, you guys are more. This is more top of mind for you than me. But there are ways to share who you are without letting out those intimate details. So that way, you
Yep.
don't expose yourself.
Yeah, and I do that on social media. I have like hashtag S1 for my oldest and hashtag S2 for my youngest because their
Which
names start with
honestly,
that.
everyone should be doing that. Outside of the security space or not, like, the amount of
Yeah.
personal information that people share, especially when it comes to, like, their family and children, etcetera. I'm like, even if you don't work in security, you probably should be doing that.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's general best practices on how not to get pwned.
Yeah.
But I mean that like you bring up a lot of good points, right? Growing and being present and drawing personal parallels. It almost thinks of makes me think of split personalities, right? Is
Mhm,
your social media presence playing to the personal side? Is it playing to the professional side? Which is drawing more attention? And I think that
mhm,
that really helps beg the question of like, should you start your social media presence and building your brand through a corporate entity such as your
mhm,
job or
Mhm.
organizations you're aligned to, or should it be something that is personal and unique to you that incorporates the things that
mhm.
you are associated with either by trade craft or by career choice?
Yeah, for me, even though I'm like in the corporate communications profession, and obviously I work really closely with our spokespeople in the broader organization on social media, I really think appreciate and value when the spokesperson themselves or the person I'm working with has a vested interest in their own social media presence and they're just not taking canned content that I'm teeing up for them because it's not going to resonate. Like it has to be driven by you to some degree because you're bringing the unique perspective to the table and the unique insights to the table that people want to hear. And only your unique voice can draw that type of attention and engagement if you've gone and done the prep work and thought through what you're trying to communicate and say. So I believe that whether or not you are an official spokesperson of your business or not, you should be building your social media presence. I think in today's world, whether you're in security or not, personal brand drives so much value and it's an opportunity for you to showcase your expertise. Now, with that
Yeah.
said, remember that if you are taking this journey and are going to build your personal brand on your own, and you do have aspirations to step into leadership positions some days or be in positions that are more visible at businesses in the future, what you're saying and posting online now will
Yes.
be reviewed and considered in the future. And there will be some forward-looking businesses that, again, appreciate having someone who's vocal, who's sharing an opinion, who's taking a provocative stance, and is truly a thought leader. But at the same time, it has to be done respectfully, right?
Yeah, I think that goes with the saying like that we've heard a lot lately,
Mhm.
past 5 years or so, where you can have an opinion, you can say whatever you want, but you are not free from the consequences of what you've said. So I think that's very pointed, and it's
Mhm.
something that is a good reminder.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, keep it clean, folks. Let's just keep it clean.
And it's funny
Potential
because
employers Google you.
yeah, I mean, security folks are not shy of sharing their opinions either, which is
Right.
amazing. That's what makes for good social content, but has to be done in a way where, of course, you're not being
Sometimes.
too mean.
So then
Sometimes.
I guess
I like a spicy opinion. I use so Hootsuite is a social media company. They have a hot chili pepper that they use. It's like the spiciness of your post, and it's like the spicier it is, the more likely it is to get engagement.
Oh,
So,
nice.
like, I
That's
don't shy
cool.
away from spiciness. If everyone's saying the same thing, we're just sitting in an echo chamber. But
Yeah.
yeah, you got to toe the line a little bit.
So, with that being said, then, Jackie, like all of that was just a lot to cover. Is it better to start through the company that you work at or to do it on your own? What are your thoughts there?
I think it's good to start on your own, especially if you're not in a position right now that you're not in a leadership position where you're going to get hooked up with someone like me helping you manage your social media presence. I think it's a good thing to start, especially early on in your career. There's a lot of security practitioners that are gaining traction and momentum on platforms like LinkedIn. I don't think you have to wait to have a senior title to start working on your personal branding. I think it's something you should be thinking throughout your entire career. That said, welcome the support if it's available to you from your business. Hopefully you get someone who understands that, like, I'm not going to be asking you to exclusively be posting blog posts from the company blog and pushing whatever product we're trying to push. That's not good. That's just not good social media strategy or management or personal brand building. But I think it's something that folks should prioritize in their personal time. And regardless of where you are in your security career journey, starting now and identifying what platforms you're really comfortable with and what types of mediums of content you're comfortable with is a good way to just get started. And you can do it in stages. Like, you don't have to all of a sudden be a content creator on day one. You can start by commenting on people's posts and sharing your opinions that way. And as you get more comfortable with kind of the two-way dialogue that happens, then maybe step into publishing your own post and setting goals for publishing once or twice a week or whatever it may be, just to get you started.
Or starting a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, like, what are your thoughts then in our security space here? TikTok, no TikTok. What are your thoughts there? Because that is a
Ooh.
spicy.
It's a controversial one. It's a controversial
I
one.
do not have it. I will say I don't have it.
I know. I tried to send you a TikTok the other day and you couldn't watch it. So I screen recorded it for Kayla and then I
You
sent it
did.
to her because the content was just too relatable. And I was like, be reckless, get on TikTok with me. So it's funny. I'm on TikTok. I don't post to TikTok super frequently. I actually ended up privating my account because I blew up on TikTok and I had like 50K views of a hidden room that I found in my last apartment. Funny side story.
Oh,
And then I was like hosting like a Q&A series. I was having a lot of fun. Then I was like, I need to shut this down.
that's amazing though.
It's like, this is
Was
getting
that in
crazy.
Boston or
Yeah, it was in my last apartment. Yeah. It's not where I'm currently residing, but in my last place. As I was moving out, I found a board in my closet and then I pulled back the board and there was a whole other room back there. So it's a lot of
was it?
Was
fun.
there a mattress and a lamp?
Yeah, right.
No, just well, there was like
That's
a
like
box
horror
of
movie.
lids and like bird cage. It's a
There's
whole thing.
Bird cage. Someone lived in that. Sorry, we're totally going off on a tangent here,
So
Jackie. We're
I
going to
just
talk about that another time. That might be
Yes,
another
yeah.
we'll have to
episode.
brief. I can show you the content privately, one to one. Is the security space. There are people who are very against TikTok, obviously, for the global geopolitical landscape and
Yep.
everything happening. And oh my God, China's spying on all of us. I'm like, China has my information. It's done. So I'm keeping TikTok. But there are a growing number of junior practitioners on TikTok, or like entry level to like mid level practitioners. And we do some focus groups as part of our like marketing planning and trying to figure out where people are getting their information from, particularly as we're looking at the SOC practitioner. And there are in some of the focus groups we've hosted, I'm like, where are you getting your information? What's in your daily social media rotation? And someone said TikTok, and I was shocked. I was like, really? Because as an organization that also works with the public sector, like, that's a big no. That's a huge no. No, it's
Yeah.
blocked
Yeah.
in
Right.
some government offices. So it's a mixed bag, really. I think if you are early on in your career, there's a lot of folks who are doing like a day in the life of a SOC person and like showing the ins and outs of the roles and responsibilities, what they're doing, sharing like a day in the life. That's super common content. And then there are folks who are in the YouTube space that are posting clips on TikTok and teasing their content out on TikTok. So I don't think it's off the table. I think we'll see what shakes out with this maybe TikTok ban that's happening
Yeah.
for security reasons. But there's definitely a hard line in the sand. I think you got to know where you play in the security space and whether or not that's a no for the vertical you're in, a no for the type of security that you're in. So
Yeah, you too, Taylor.
again, it's important
Yeah.
about knowing your audience, right? Like, go back, do that prep work, figure out who you're trying to
Yeah.
talk to, and if your people are not on TikTok or do not look at TikTok finally, don't go on it.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point. Like making sure that you are aware of what you're doing and maybe even getting your legal team's approval, depending on what type of content you're posting
Yeah.
and what your
Very much so.
tenure is at your company and your status is. That might be worthwhile. It's like, hey, this is my plan.
Mhm.
Am I authorized to do this? I
Yeah.
think
For
that's
the
actually a good point too.
Yeah, for the people doing, like, the day in the life content, I have to wonder, I'm like, imagine just your HR sees that. I don't know how that goes over.
Yeah,
So, but it's really
clean
common
desk.
across security and other places. Yeah.
Clean screen, clean desk. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Kayla, can I see you in my office, please?
I know, I can just see it now. Oh god. I'll stick to LinkedIn and Twitter or X,
Yeah.
whatever for now.
No, I mean it is, and I think that Jackie, to your point though, it's also like social media evolution and like the what are they, Gen Zers? Is that what they are? Like the ones
Yeah.
below us, Kayla, Gen Z?
Yeah.
Yes, Gen
Okay.
Z.
I think,
Yep.
Jackie, you're Gen Z, aren't you?
I clear it. I'm a baby millennial.
Okay.
By like 3 days.
No, there is
Um,
like a few years between me and the Gen Zers.
but I think because even with that, like I see that a lot of Gen Zers and younger people, including like my teenagers and things like that, like they they welcome the sharing of certain information that as our careers were progressing or as we were coming up in corporate, it was like those are almost like trade secrets or tribal knowledges that you have to go through like the lessons learned and like the hardships to develop the thick skin to deal with some of those situations. Like I've seen TikToks about how to deal with feedback and how to deal with like, incident management, incident response. And like, for me, it's like, wow, like that was a lesson learned. Like I had to go through an actual incident and play it out and get the feedback like very raw
Yeah.
and very emotional because it was in the moment of like, hey, I you shouldn't have done that. Like, right? Like,
Yeah. You're
yes,
like,
you
I actually endured the trauma to
Yeah,
learn
right?
the
right.
Yeah.
lesson.
No, Taylor, that's actually a really good point. The newer generations are so much more open and communicative than prior generations are, which is why I think you see a lot of discourse in the security space, a lot with the executives and the folks who've been around for a little bit longer in those roles, not adapting and wanting to fit those new marketing communication strategies and don't want to be spokesperson, don't want to be the face of a
Mhm,
brand or a product. They look at their own brand
mhm,
of knowing the people that they've known when they
mhm,
would actually literally pick up a phone and input a
mhm.
number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're also too, they're like, I also don't wanna make myself a target by going out there and posturing myself as
Yeah.
the security expert. I
Yep.
think there was that list that got published last year of, like, top CISOs in North America or something like that. I think Forbes did it. Fact check me. Uh,
There was one list that Forbes did and then a list that the other I was not on the Forbes list, but I was on another one.
yeah. You were one of the top CISOs to follow, I know what that is,
Yeah.
but there was, like, top CISOs in the US based on, like, their
Yeah.
organization's security posture.
Yes, that's right. That's
And
correct.
everyone
Yes.
had it was like,
A
"Oh my
meltdown.
god, you
Yeah.
basically just put out a list that said, 'Try me.'"
Yeah,
Like,
that was like a
Yeah.
hit list. We were calling it a hit list in the CISO spaces.
The
Yeah.
CISO hit list.
Yep.
Yeah.
oh, I understand the apprehension for sure if you're going out there and saying, "I'm this expert that's delving out all these best practices." Like, I understand the thought that could put a target on my back, but I think there's strength in more people doing it and more people sharing the information, and we can't be afraid to share information and share best practices. These
Yeah.
are the bad guys because who knows what forums they're in and conversations that they're having doing the same thing just on the other side.
Yeah. That's actually an excellent point too. So many good points are being made.
I
I love
know.
it.
Drop
Well,
I
them.
just I remember getting yelled at for like Googling a stack trace error one time, coming up with the right answer.
Yeah.
But because I Googled it, they were like,
times have changed. Taylor, we're old now. We are old.
Listen, in the
I am
world of
creeping up
chat,
on
keep
40. Yeah, that's
Googling is
yeah.
the least offense that you can do at this
Yeah.
point.
yeah, but to that point, it's like there used to be. I'm trying to the like the tech blog site. Like I stumbled upon it one time and I was like, oh, there's really good information here. And there's like a PowerShell query of like something I was trying to do. I was trying to like remotely get logs for something. And I was like, oh yeah, that's why this isn't working. And they were like, I can't believe you Googled that. You just got to try until you get it right. And I'm like, but now
No.
it's like you go on X or TikTok and they're like,
That's
oh, do you want to see me break down PowerShell? And
that's working smarter, not harder. And those social media content creators are doing us all a favor because then you're
they
able to
are.
focus on other things. I think that's awesome. And growing up like in as like a woman in security and like
Mhm.
a woman in tech, and I started in financial services in that space. A lot of the stuff that was like pushed to me was building your own brand. How do you become a CEO or how do you become a big like a senior executive? You have
Mhm.
to build a brand. And that's not just a social media brand, but it's also what you like
What
how you
you
compose
know.
yourself in the office as well. It's
Mhm.
all a big package that can really to your point earlier, Jackie, it's who you are, who your audience is. Are you trying to impress your executive team for a promotion? Are you trying to impress customers, prospects? Are you trying to educate people in those same spaces? Like how you present yourself, it's a whole
Mhm.
bundle. It's
Mhm.
not just one component.
No.
But circling back to what you were saying before, where does one start with content creation? I know you'd said you don't have to dive all in at once.
Mhm.
You can take it really slowly. Is it building a presence? Like I was challenged with 20 new LinkedIn connections a week.
Mhm.
Start there, build your audience, and then go. So, what do you do in that space?
Yeah, I say start small then scale. Start with a small goal to challenge yourself to post
Mhm.
once a week to start. Once you get in that rhythm, change it to twice a week. Do what's manageable for you, especially if you're just getting started and you're not even really sure what to post.
Yeah.
I describe myself as the I in social media and marketing, we use a string of emojis to describe ourselves. I'm with the flower, the disco ball, the lady dancing, and like the writing. And then there are other marketers who are like the hard graphs and the numbers and the etc. So I don't necessarily hold myself to really strict benchmarks on like the reach and engagement side. I have like ranges that I think are good generally for setting benchmarks and just like keeping an eye on your content metrics within like whatever analytics are available in whatever platform you're deciding to invest your time into. But I think it's important to understand what medium of content you're most comfortable with. Platforms like LinkedIn, Mastodon, Reddit, Discord, whatever it may be, those are obviously text heavy. So if writing comes naturally to you and that's what you're
Mhm.
most comfortable with, go with that and challenge yourself to post once a week to start and then ramp up from there. But if you are someone that's comfortable with video and maybe is more comfortable talking through your points or sharing your points verbally, maybe a YouTube channel is the best way for you to get started. And maybe it's not the written content. Maybe your grammar sucks and it's not for you. Maybe you're just better at talking and that's okay. And then you can clip it and put it on TikTok and maybe challenge yourself to edit one video a month to start and go from there. I think it's thinking about where you're most comfortable, where you present best, and what's your strengths, and starting with those
Yeah.
small goals and then scaling and then seeing what type of feedback you're getting to inform your strategy going forward.
I should definitely tell my daughter that because her TikTok's draft folder is like 380
Oh
and
my goodness.
like post something, like
Just post one of them.
just
You don't
one
need to
of them.
search for perfection as you're getting started, and I think almost like the imperfect post to begin with is really what starts to build your audience. It doesn't have to be overly polished. Like, I almost have
Mhm.
to unpolish us a little bit on the brand side when I'm working from, like, my corporate position, because 'cause I'm like, "No person talks like this. No
Yeah.
person posts like this. No one's posting." People are posting really cool content, don't get me wrong, and I'm sure there are influencers and creators that have a whole editing team behind them. But as you're getting started, don't feel like you have to compete with the folks that have an editing team and are putting these really
Right.
splashy things together.
Huge.
You can still do it. And it doesn't have to be an incredibly polished shop to get going.
I think that's where I struggle, right? I have an X, I have a LinkedIn, I have
Mhm.
opinions, right? I want to
Look, I have the opinions.
want to get them out there, but then it's like I start typing and it's like like when you get gun shy almost or
Mm.
trigger shy,
'Cause
you're
you're
like,
like, what if someone comments disagreeing? Then what am I gonna say?
I don't want anything controversial.
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm not afraid of that. I'm afraid of like the tone in which it's interpreted." Right?
Yeah.
But to that point though, you are not responsible for how people interpret what you're saying. Like, totally off track here, but I watched an episode of Modern Family the other day, and they were like making up. They were Phil had been talking to an old girlfriend from high school, and his wife was putting like a certain tone to his messages to her,
Mhm.
and liking it like salacious when he wasn't being that way at all. But then the girl ended up doing it the same thing when they met in person. He's like, "Why is everyone putting a tone? There's no tone here." So so I think it's a good point. Like, we can't control how people interpret what we say. I've been a victim of it where I upset someone because I made comments about someone wearing glasses, and I got some really negative feedback about that. I wear glasses. I have 3 pairs of glasses over to my right. Like, I wear them. I
She
Yeah.
just
just can't find them because she's not wearing any of them.
Exactly, that's my problem, and I will not touch my eyeballs. But
The
anyway,
internet doesn't always have the full context, and sometimes
exactly.
you might have to explain or elaborate on that context, and that's okay.
It's just
Yeah.
security is a very hot topic anyways, right?
Yep.
If someone has put something out there and either you're agreeing or disagreeing and you're just making a statement as you would like in a regular conversation, like, "Oh, I actually think you should probably think about it this way." It oftentimes people are like, "Oh,
No.
he's saying, oh, you should think about it this way." It's like, no, like I was just
Yeah.
human
I
interaction.
imagine I said it to you verbally.
Right, and that's where I've seen and another thing is, like, use of the LOLs and the emojis and, like, using
Mhm.
softening tones,
Yeah.
all of those are very important things, to help lead to that, but I know that we're really coming up on time here. I guess really, like, Jackie, social media hot take to wrap us up with all of the things that we've learned today or maybe just in general, it can't be TikTok related because
Is that when X became X, we were wondering what was going to be the text-based platform that the security community gravitated to. I
Mhm.
think we've seen a lot of people go to Mastodon, but I think at the end of the day, the winner was really LinkedIn. And I don't think people should be sleeping on LinkedIn and looking at it only a place to find jobs. I think it is the place to be building your personal brand right now in the
it's
I
huge.
like
security
it.
space too.
Yeah.
So don't sleep on it. That's my hot take.
I appreciate that. Kayla, Jackie, wonderful talking to you guys today. I really appreciate the time and can't
Yeah.
wait for Kayla our next episode and Jackie the next time you come on and give us another social media roundup or help guide lockdown with Kayla and Taylor marketing that's needed.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Jackie. Thank you, Taylor.
Appreciate it.
Bye, everyone.